Hi, welcome to Cobbler and Coles. I'm Mr. Tim and today we're making breakfast. Now, the inspiration for today's video came from a recipe that I was watching of Cowboy Rollins. If you haven't watched his videos, I highly recommend it. A wealth of knowledge for this style of cooking and a lot of cowboy cooking. So today we're making a breakfast. Now we've all had the mountain man breakfast with potatoes at the bottom, you know, hash brown potatoes and bacon and eggs and sausage and cheese. This is a little different. I think it was genius when I watched it. You're gonna take some frozen waffles, not frozen in this case, thawed out a little bit, cut them up a little bit into bite-sized pieces. They're gonna go layered on the bottom. You know what? I should stop talking. Let's get cooking. I've changed a few of the ingredients to tweak it because this is a fully customizable recipe. But one thing that we haven't changed is waffles. So as I mentioned before, I really like using a pizza cutter when you're cutting anything like this, especially when you're at camp. While we're waiting on the coals to get ready in the chimney, I thought I'd take a moment, dig deep into Mr. Tim's toolbox, and answer a question that was posed in the comments. How do you know when your charcoal is ready if you're using a chimney? It usually takes about between 15 and 20 minutes, depending on the style of briquettes that you're using. If you're using some that already has a lighter fluid included, like a match light or any kind of generic quick light charcoal, that may go a little bit faster. It's important to always start your charcoal from the bottom. There is a spot on the bottom. You can put a fire starter on there, or you can use a piece of paper, or you can use an extendable lighter, but I always like to light it from the bottom. And you're waiting for it to ash over. So the top briquettes will look a little bit white. You should see a little bit of a glow from the bottom, and you should see no more flame shooting out the top. And you can listen to it and you can hear almost like a turbine of the heat that's coming out. That's a surefire way that you're ready to get started on cooking. The next question is, how many briquettes do I use? If your recipe calls for a temperature of about 350 degrees, you're going to want to use the rule of 3. You take the size of your Dutch oven, you minus 3, and that's the number of coals that go on the bottom. You take that size again and add 3, and that's the ones that you go on top. So if you're using a 12-inch Dutch oven, to maintain a temperature between 325 and 350, you're going to want to use 9 coals on the bottom and between 15 and 16 on the top, depending on what you're doing. Now, when you're putting the coals on the bottom, you want them in a ring around the edge of the Dutch oven, not directly underneath, because that'll create a hot spot, and it'll also start taking off your seasoning if it doesn't have a good strong seasoning on the bottom of the Dutch oven. It will have a scorch spot. So you want to ring around just outside the Dutch oven, and then you want more heat on the top, especially if you're doing something with baking or if you want to broil, so to speak, the top of it. But we'll talk about that more as we move along. First thing we're going to do is we're going to get in some mild Tennessee Pride sausage. Now you can use any kind of sausage you want to use, but this is the first change that I've made. Now that the sausage is mostly done, we're going to go ahead and pull it out, but I'm reserving the fat inside the bottom of the vessel. I want to keep, I said vessel like I'm all fancy. In the bottom of the Dutch oven, I want to keep a little bit of that sausage fat in there, because that's good. That's just flavor gold right there. This is the point where we're going to drop in our waffle pieces, and we want these in a single layer across the bottom. All right, we have 6 cackleberries, as Mr. Rollins would say, otherwise known as eggs. I'm going to start on getting these whisked up a little bit. Next, we're going to go in with mayonnaise. And I personally have never cooked with mayonnaise in my eggs, but it looks delicious. And if it's good enough for Kent, it's good enough for me. Give that a little whisk. You gotta make sure, from what he says, you gotta get it really good and incorporated. No pieces left. You don't want any little curds in there. And this is half a cup of heavy cream. Get it all. I started using mason jars to take everything to camp because they're reusable and easy to clean, especially when you have your kitchen cleanup set up out in the camp. We want to make sure that we are staying clean as possible, and you know, a scout is thrifty. And today we're going to add the seasoning to the eggs. Very important part. This seasoning today is Smokehouse from House of Flavor. Highly recommend it. It's a brand that's local here to the Tampa Bay area, and I get a chance to restock every time I'm at one of their markets. But you just want to liberally dose that up, and then again, go back to whisking. So now that we got that done, we're gonna add the sausage back in, get it as evenly layered as possible. You know, I've been watching Mr. Rollins for quite a while, just to get ideas, even before Cobbler and Coles came about. But now I get to watch it and I get to call it research. So, thank you, Mr. Rollins, I appreciate that. Now that we have a little bit of a paper towel going to run away, we're gonna pour in our egg, cream, and mayonnaise mixture over the top. And here's another deviation from the original recipe, which I'm gonna make sure to link the original recipe down in the comments. And also I'm gonna be tagging Mr. Rollins on any platform that you're watching. I'll make sure that his appropriate link is available. But going in with a pound of shredded Colby Jack cheese. The original recipe did not call for cheese, and if I bake this up and find out why it did not come with cheese in the original recipe, I'll make sure to let everybody know. But this is a wonderful process of experimentation. The next step calls for some peppered gravy mix. Now, you're gonna find that there's instructions on here. We're not necessarily paying attention to those instructions this time. So we're gonna use the same bowl that we had the sausage in. It's clean-ish. And we're using a peppered gravy. And instead of following the instructions in it, we're gonna whisk in 1 cup of heavy cream and 1 cup of water, chilled water. I have them mixed together in this mason jar to make it easier for me to transport to camp. And according to Mr. Rollins, we want to make sure that we get it whisked up so there's no lumps, and we're going to layer this right on top. cheese is gooey. The gravy is in there. Got the waffle pieces. This looks good. I'm going in. Oh, wait. What did he say? Make sure to let it cool. All right. I don't need to burn myself. All right. Now, I think I'm going in. Oh yeah. You get all the goodness. You got the waffles and the gravy and the cheese. The eggs are perfect. They're not overly done. Good choice. I'm gonna go ahead and finish this, and I'll catch you at the next campfire. If you haven't already, please make sure to like and subscribe and share this with your friends. Any other like-minded scout parents or leaders out there, this is a great one. You might want to watch this one again and again. If you haven't already, like and subscribe so you can continue to see videos like this.